Hey, today we're going to be looking at mission, vision, values, strategy, that kind of stuff, goals. Uh, a lot of organizations do this. I mean, this is just the boilerplate kind of stuff for leadership. It doesn't matter where you are, whether it's the medical field or educational systems or businesses or military or sports teams or churches. They still all use some of this same language. A lot of it comes from the business world, but really underneath that, there are some biblical principles that go along the line because leadership is about planning. More than anything else is planning and decision making, making good plans and executing good decisions. And that's where leadership really comes into play. And we certainly have the most important business in the whole world, right? The business of winning souls for Christ. So I'm going to share my screen with you here, and we're going to get going. We're talking about mission. Mission. What is your mission? Your mission is your porpoise. um, not the porpoise. Purpose. Purpose. Your purpose. Um, your red hot why is what Simon Sinek says. What are we all about? Why do we exist? One time, I wrote that note to myself. Why are we doing this? I just was trying to remember the red hot why, and I put it on my wall. And our custodian came in that night, and he scrawled something on it. The next morning, I came in, and he said underneath, "Why are we doing this?" He said, "I have no idea. I was wondering the same question myself." And actually, sometimes we get so involved in the what that we forget about the why. And the red hot why is what gets us up. It's what gets us going in the morning. It's what fuels us so we can actually continue on when the going gets tough. What is your red hot why? What is that all about? Now, by the way, this is going to be what you use for your final assignment for this class, which is to put together your mission, vision, strategy. Like, what is it that you want to do? And the first thing you want to do is to develop and identify the thing, the bullseye, the red hot why. There aren't five things. The Apostle Paul says, "This one thing I do." So, like, what is the one thing you got to do? Just go for that, right? So you get the red hot why. They say, how do we accomplish the why? And then what do we need to do in order to do that, in order to do that? That's the idea of the mission. Um, so one question is, what is it that drives your ministry or your church? All churches are driven by something. Now, we all want to say we're being driven by Jesus. We're driven by the Bible. But a lot of times there's other stuff that drives the church, like tradition, the way we've always done it, or maybe a personality, or maybe it's just even the lead pastor. I'm just driving this church, right? Um, or maybe it's politics, right? Or maybe there's just some relational stuff, like nobody wants to upset grandma, so we're going to do this because we'll tiptoe around grandma. Sometimes, like one family unit can get a stranglehold on a church. Sometimes your facilities drive the church because you're overextended or whatever, and you don't have enough parking or whatever. And so that actually limits your church and it's up driving your church. Sometimes fear drives the church because we don't want to take a risk. I knew of a great church that came right up to a point. It was growing and growing and came right up to a point. It was the next town over from where we lived. And they almost did it. They almost decided to take a step of faith. And they said, no, we better not. And then they backed it out. And then they just shriveled right back down. And I think that's the key. God it doesn't really honor foolishness, but he does honor faith. And I've never seen once where we took a real step of faith, believing that God told us to do what we were to do. Like never once did he fail us in that. So, what is our mission? What is our real mission? Now, there's a difference between a perceived mission and a real mission. The perceived mission is what we say we're about. The real mission is what we actually do. It's evidenced by the stuff that we're actually doing. So, for instance, if we say we are here to reach the world for Christ, but we're not doing anything to reach the world for Christ, then that's not really what we're all about. We're probably here more to be a social club for each other. That maybe it's more like that, like it's about the fellowship of the saints rather than it is reaching the world for Christ. What you do proves what you really believe about your mission. Now, this is a mission vision statement for the Wesleyan Church. They might change it in the coming years, but right for now, this is what it is. Now, this is sort of a vision statement because a vision is what does it look like when the mission is fulfilled. So the mission would be to multiply disciples. That's what they would say, the Wesleyan Church. Our mission is to multiply disciples. And therefore, we are celebrating every time a disciple makes a disciple and a church multiplies itself into the Wesleyan Church as a transforming presence in every zip code. That's a good vision, right? In every zip code. We wanted to put them in every zip code. If it's big enough to have a zip code, it's big enough to have a Wesleyan presence. Um, so the one problem with that, by the way, is Canada doesn't have zip codes. So like we're saying, we don't want churches in Canada. No, of course we do. So this was very American centric. So we have to rethink that just a little bit. But the idea here is the mission is what we're all about. That's the red hot why, multiplying disciples. That's based on Matthew 28:18 to 20. The great commission, by the way. There it is. There you got your mission. It's already there. You don't have to come up with one. My my church board, we spent about 6 months coming up with a mission statement, and what we ended up with was a duck-billed platypus. Like we just got a little bit of everything that we put in there, and nobody could remember it. And then after another 2 or 3 months, we all realized that we had a convoluted thing that really wasn't what it was at all. Really, what we were all about was Matthew 28:18 to 20. Go into all the world and make disciples of every nation, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey all that I've commanded you, and I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. Now, that is the mission. That's the mission, right? So we already have a mission. We don't have to come up with our own. We can just use the one that Jesus gave us. That's a pretty good one, right? So what does that look like, though, is the next question. So if you go to a church's website, you'll find out what they are about, what the red hot why is. At least you should. A lot of churches don't do that. There are a lot of churches that their online presence is really lame, and so you can't really even tell what the church is about. But if you want to take a look at your church, your church's website. Look at the very front page and to say, does this capture our red hot why? And if it doesn't, then go talk to somebody and get that fixed. Now, one thing about it is what we are doing needs to be congruent with what we are supposed to be. This is what I meant by the real actualized mission. It's when we're actually doing this stuff. But it's really easy to drift away from the mission. That's called mission drift, right? When you drift away from it. You know you're supposed to be doing this, but we're about this. And we're spending our energy sideways and stuff. We're talking about things that don't really matter that much. We spend 3 or 4 hours at a board meeting with something that is insignificant, and we forget the main thing. And what we need to do is keep bringing it back, keep bringing it back. If you're the leader, one of your jobs is to continually stoke the mission fire so they remember the red hot why. Keep it red hot. You got to keep on doing that. Now, the vision, like I mentioned before, is what the mission looks like when it's being fulfilled. You play that out. It's a futuristic thing. I see something. It's a vision, right? I'm seeing stuff. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Some versions say the people cast off restraint. And that's really true too, because what happens is if you don't have an aligning vision, then everybody wants to do whatever they want to do. And then pretty soon you have people going every which way except for forward together. So the vision is this, where does God want us to go? What is God's vision for us? What does vision fulfillment look like? What does mission fulfillment look like? Like if we actually do it, if we actually accomplish what we say our mission is, our red hot why, what does it look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? With my students, I have them fast forward themselves 10 years from now. And then I say, okay, what is your situation? Maybe you should do that. 10 years from now, take a look, like zap it forward. How old are you? How old are your kids? What do you see yourself doing? If you're fulfilling the mission, what does it look like 10 years from now? It'll give you an inspiring picture of the future 10 years from now. I challenge you. I challenge you to do that. This could really be helpful for you when you map out your mission vision assignment at the end of the semester. So visioneering is imagining a preferred future then as you play it out, and then you do whatever you can to move towards that picture. George Bush, the first George Bush Sr., it's kind of funny. People kept telling him, "You don't have vision." He says, "I just don't get that vision thing. I just don't get the vision thing." And well, yeah, I get that because sometimes the people think there has to be a certain kind of way or a certain kind of personality, a certain kind of mindset that I'm giving a compelling vision. But but here's the thing: you don't have to actually come up with a vision. Don't feel that burden. It is not yours to come up with. The word vision means to see. It means to see, right? Um, and so that's what you want to do. You want to see. See what God is doing. See what God has done, and then what God is doing. Because what God is doing is based on what He's done, and what He's going to do is based on what He's doing now. And what He's doing now is based on what He's going to do in the future. What is God up to? Find out what God is up to and join Him. That's the vision. That's the vision. So you don't have to come up with your own. In fact, if you're coming up with your own vision, that's not a vision. That's called hallucination. They'll put you into the nut house for that. So what you want to do is capture what God wants you to do. See, Lord, I want to see, like the blind man. Lord, I want to see. Help me to see. Help me to see. Um, I need to see. And that's what I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. Well, there are a couple of ways to see it when you do a vision and when you're casting it to other people. And it all depends on your personality. There are some that the way they do it is through setting goals. They want to have a goal, the way they want to shoot for. This is for the future. I see this for the future, and I'm going to go for it. We're going to do this, right? And that's about half of the population. Half of the people are really good at goal setting, but the other half are kind of like George Bush. They say, I just don't get that vision thing. I try, I came up, but I feel like I'm hallucinating rather than visioning. Well, maybe you're more wired as a problem solver. And so, like, if you're a problem solver, it's the same thing. You end up getting to the same place. You just get it from a different way. The first one gets it through rah, rah, let's set a goal, let's go for it, let's make this thing happen. The other is saying, what is getting in the way of us fulfilling our mission, and what can we do to get rid of that, solving those problems? Because this view would say that a church is organically healthy and it's going to thrive. And the reason why it doesn't thrive is when there's illness or disease that's happening, things that stand in the way and they hinder it. But if we can move the hindrances out of the way, the roadblocks out of the way, then things are going to flow. So maybe it's solving a problem. Maybe that's the way to get your vision. Either way, whether you're setting goals or solving problems or both, you want to have a red hot why and then have a picture of what it looks like when that's going to get done. Now, when it comes to vision, there's these four different areas. Of course, we have the first area, number one, the quadrant one. This is what I know and you know and that we all know, and that's just great. And we're all aware and we're ready to roll. The um, the hidden area is one that maybe I know, but you guys don't know yet. It's just birthing inside of me. I see a vision, but I'm not quite there. It's kind of secret still inside of me, and I haven't really birthed it out. I haven't had the courage to say it yet, right? Is there one of those bubbling up inside of you? Your blind area, that's where other people see it in you, but you don't see it yet, right? Now, this could be like a blind spot in a negative way, but it could also be an inspiring thing that God wants to do in your life and you don't see it. I do that with my students all the time. These 19, 20-year-olds, they don't see what they have in them yet, and I'm just calling it out on them. And then the unknown part is where I don't see it, they don't see it, God sees it, and He's going to do something new. And so what you want to do is more and more, you want to move from these areas over to this one. And God's going to reveal at his time, but try to make it as open. So get rid of the blind spots and the hidden areas as much as you can. So your life is an open book. Max Dupree, a great leader, he said the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. He said the second is to go around thanking everybody. So I say thank you. Define reality and say thank you. And I think defining reality is really good. It's helpful to reframe things. Sometimes people get all upset if things aren't going the way they think, or it feels like things are hard, or the wheels are falling off the wagon. And as a leader, going, no, 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 we're okay, guys. This is what we're all about. Remember, we're about multiplying disciples. Hey, we had some people that came to Christ. Yeah, they're messy. They they bring drama with them, but that's okay. We got this, right? God has us, and He's on the throne. And so you just define the reality for the people and keep redefining it. You have to keep on doing that, or else you get mission drift. So for defining reality, you want to see where we've been. Look what was. This is your history. You want to look at your history. Find the earliest histories that you can from your church, because there's something in there, seeds of greatness for your future. Where are we right now? Not what we wish it would be, but where is it? Like, what are our weaknesses? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are our opportunities? What are our threats? And where are we headed? Where are we going? If we continue the trajectory that we're on right now, what would that look like? Let's say even like in numerical growth in our church. If it continued at exactly the same pattern, say if I look over the last 5 to 10 years, and then I look at it where it is now for the next 5 to 10 years, what does it look like? And what is the trajectory? And where are we going? Or is it what we want? And if it's not what we want, how do we change it? And if it is what we want, how do we enhance that? How do we plan to get there? That's defining reality. What could possibly be? This is fast forwarding it 10 years. Two kinds of visions, by the way. We are usually gifted in one of these or the other. The first is the macro vision, that's the forest, and the other is the micro vision, the trees. So we need both, right? You need both these people. The macro vision people, she sees the great big picture, but sometimes they miss the little things that could trip them up. Now, the microvision person sees all the roots and the little things that could trip them up, but sometimes they don't get the big picture of the whole thing. So you need both the macro and the micro. And the question you got to figure out is which one are you? And whichever one you are, you need people that are on the opposite side of that to surround you to so you can have a complete picture. So don't think like if you're a macro person, don't think of those micro people as critics and negative. No, they're just helping you out to define your reality, right? And if you're a micro person, that macro person, they're not just a dreamer. I mean, they are a visionary, and they have inspiring vision, and you get behind that and just point it out, not as a negative thing, but as an enhancer of the vision. Keith Drury says here's some ways that you can handle vision. One is just to forget about vision, just keep on ministering, but you won't get anywhere if you do that. Keep on keeping on, just keep doing the same old stuff you always done because that's the way you've always done it. That's not going to get you anywhere. All swim means everybody comes in and chimes in on the vision. Well, you can do that, but it'll slow you down. Now, maybe it's the board that dreams and casts the vision. Maybe. Often I find that church boards don't always craft visions very well. They can help articulate a vision and clarify it. I think it's more about either the pastoral staff or maybe even Moses on the Mount and like a one leader or maybe a team of leaders that come in and they dream together and then they cast the vision. The denominational vision could be another too, but yeah, that's pretty uninspiring. I think probably the best bet would be right in this section, the leaders, letting the leaders do the vision. You can hear from everyone. I think we should involve everyone in the process, but the nucleus of the vision usually lands with the leader. Values, these are the things that we that are important to us, that we don't want to ever violate, that we want to make sure these things are there, that we want to be honest and forthright and fair and vulnerable and real, and maybe excellence is a value, and being word-centered is a value, faith, holiness, whatever your values are, kindness, gentleness, self-control, right? So, well, integrity. What are your values? Your core values that are your guiding principles of how you're going to operate together. This is how you're going to accomplish this mission. This is the spirit in which you do it. So, like maybe you want to reach lost people for Christ, but you're not going to lie and steal and cheat in order to do it because that would be violating a guiding principle. Now, sometimes conflicts arise in a church, not because of good and bad people. It's about a conflict of values, right? A conflict of values. Sometimes it's a procedural conflict because there's two different ways that it could be done, and this person values this way and this person values that way. It's a values conflict. Sometimes it's interpersonal, different kinds of people hold different kinds of values. Like, should we let the person that can't sing very well sing on the worship team, or do we not? Well, if it's excellence inspires people and honors God, then we're not going to let them do that. But if we love everybody and inclusion is the highest value, then yeah, you'll let Lois sing on the team, even though she sounds like a wounded cow. So it all depends on your value. And there's some significant ones here. The substantive conflict are ones that cannot be reconciled. And if you can't reconcile the values, then probably somebody's got to go. That's the only way it works because you can't live with two different visions. That you have division, that's division, and you don't want to do that. Strategy is your pathway or your plan of getting there. These are the things that we are going to do to accomplish the mission so we can have that vision of the preferred future. That's our strategy. So Rick Warren talks about that and the purposes. The purposes can be the same idea, although purposes sound like mission. I would say that that's a poorly worded book, The Five Purposes of a Church, um, purpose-driven church. The purpose is just to honor God, worship God, right, and multiply disciples. Um, the the strategy, these are strategies. So Rick Warren had these as fellowship, discipleship, worship, ministry, and evangelism. That these five areas. So the question is, what are we doing to help people love each other? What are we doing to help people grow in their faith in Christ Jesus? Do we have a discipleship strategy? What are our worship services like, and how do we help people become individual worshipers? But what do we do to inspire people in the worship service with music, and what kind of worship service will we have? Uh, how do we engage people in active ministry in the church? What kinds of things can they do? How can we utilize their giftedness rather than just getting volunteers to fill holes? And then how can we effectively reach our neighbors for Christ, our neighbors and the nations? Like it's Acts 1:8, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the ends of the world. So our local community, our broader area, culture removed, and the ends of the earth. What is our evangelism strategy? So these are your strategy pathways. And then you have specific things that you do in each of these that you can actually measure and you can actually plan and put together. And whichever one of these maybe is the one you want to work on the most, you emphasize that one. It's kind of like a musical quintet that they're playing, with the cello and the violin and all that. Eventually, sometimes there's like one that comes to the forefront. The violin is playing a solo, or maybe there's a violin and a cello together just for a little bit because those are the ones I want to highlight right now. And there are certain seasons in a church's life where you need to highlight one more than another. All of these are important, and all of them should be going at some level or another, at least in some kind of excellence. But there are probably seasons where you're going to need to highlight one or two more than you do the other ones. One of the best tools I've ever seen is called the Master Planning Arrow, Strategic Planning Arrow by the Master Planning Group. Bob Beal, Biehl, is the guy that did this. Uh, Basically, it's a great big sheet, but I just give you a little version. This little, like, this impact thing right here. This is the need, the deepest need, the thing that just keeps you up at night, that would make you pound the table. This is the thing that draws your heart. And your mission has something to do with that. Your purpose has something to do with that, to meet that need. There are lost, broken, hurting people around the world. We've got to win them. Win the lost at any cost. That becomes your driving focus then, right? Or there are people who are starving to death and they need food. We need to feed these hungry people, feed them physically and feed them spiritually. Food, right? So that would be your thing. Provide food, right? So once you do that, this is your need. That's the thing, right? And then right here at the arrow, this is the focus. It is the one thing, your main thing. And then from that, you have on this section right here, these would be your 5 to 7 things that you're going to do that will help reach this, that do this. So let's we say discipleship, evangelism, worship, fellowship, ministry. For us, we actually had ministry to teens and ministry to children as a part of that too, because kids were really important to us. But then moving backwards, we're going to go back, like let's say 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. And what are we going to do? Or you could even do this in 3 months, in the first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. You could do that, but start planning it backwards. And we're going to go all the way back to here. Actually, this is where we start. This is where we are right now and move forward with it, right? And so each one of these then is one of these strategic areas like discipleship. What are we going to do in discipleship now? What are we going to do a year from now? What are we going to do 3 years from now to make this thing go right here? So you have to define where this is. I would say like maybe even a year from now, you could make this and then do this stuff out to a year from now. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you have like 9 months out like from this one if you did one a month. So an idea. You don't have to use this if you don't want. But for me it was just tremendously helpful. Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with this class. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop my share. Hey, I hope this has been helpful for you. Think about it. What does God want you to do? Give it all you got, right? Start making plans, move the obstacles out of the way, onward, upward, and forward, and no weapon formed against you shall prosper.